Thinkerers, we are back. I know what you're thinking, Garrett. Have you talked to literally everybody in this conference? The answer is maybe. You're going to have to find out when you check out the content on our Thinkering Media on Substack. That's right, Substack. We're growing. Follow us, subscribe. Today, we're here with an amazing guest, Jacob Pulma. He's the assistant principal for Monroe County School District. We're not going to say the school because we never do that. That's a no-no in this game. Jacob, thank you so much for joining us here on Thinkering Voices.
No problem. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm really interested to hear, the big buzzword, everybody thinks AI. I'm not talking AI right now. I'm talking CTE. I'm talking career. I'm talking mapping backwards from these careers to give kids exposure. What are your thoughts on CTE and the future of education? It's a big question.
Yeah, everyone wants to focus on making sure students are ready and readiness. And readiness ends up being more than like a checklist, making sure kids met their test scores, making sure that they have the grades. Readiness is about opening doors for students. And a lot of it comes from recognizing that all of our students are taking different pathways. Success isn't going to look the same for every student. So readiness and success is going to differ kid to kid. So given all of the options you can offer with CTE, we're going to have kids go into the marine industry, we're going to have kids go into welding and building construction, and we're going to have kids going into computer sciences. Some are going to go university, some are going to go tech and trade schools, some are going to go military, some are going to go straight workforce. So our task is really making sure that we can open as many doors as possible for them.
And there's obviously limitations on the ground to opening those doors, right? Locality, time, expense, exposure. Is that where you guys see a partnership with Edmentum being meaningful?
Oh yeah, I mean, it always comes down to demand, a workforce demand. You're gonna have kids that want to take a course, but you don't want to neglect that course for them because there's not enough interest, there's not enough teachers, there's not enough classrooms, enough time in the day. So finding ways to still hit the interest levels of all students is obviously something we're always looking for opportunities to expand.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, I look at it, and I've used this term quite a bit today, which is like innovation and more so inspiration at scale. It's like, how do we inspire as many kids as possible in as many lanes as possible? Overall, do you see a future in education where we're doing less memorization and regurgitation and more focus on building abilities that prepare kids for the workforce?
Yeah, I think that goes back to, like I was saying, with the checklist. When you think checklist, did they pass their reading test, their science test, their social studies? That's that memory.
Yeah.
But we need to build skills for the real world afterwards. Never in my life have I been asked in a real world scenario to go back and regurgitate something I learned in my civics course. But what I've learned from my civics course has helped me to think critically about the world around me. So it's about providing students with the knowledge so that they can think critically and synthesize all of that into something that will benefit them. Less on the rote memory, more on the critical thinking.
And we know kind of what the overall system is deploying at this point. How are you on a small scale with your school starting that process of shifting what learning looks like?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is technology advancements now have come on so quickly in the past couple of years, but tech has never been the goal. It's an accelerator. It helps us get kids further. It helps them get themselves further. So we're still in the beginning phases of trying to figure out with this. I know you said you're not going to talk AI, but it's here and it's pervasive in everything.
That's a great word.
And how do we show kids how to use it as a real tool rather than a replacement for thought? Rather than a search engine, how can they use it to augment themselves? One of the speakers previously called it additional intelligence instead of artificial intelligence.
Wow.
And that's written in my notebook. Yeah. I'm definitely going to find ways to incorporate that as I'm talking to students, parents, staff, that we need to look at it as an additional intelligence instead of an artificial intelligence.
Well, and if we do it right, I think AI and its implementation is going to allow for us to think at a higher level and solve problems that potentially we never even thought to solve because we didn't have the time, the ability, the space, the freedom to do so. And there's going to be a lot less, in my opinion, rote work in the world. There's already a lot less rote work in the world. What do you think the future report card, right, for your learners in your school and really learners across the world, what do you think that future report card looks like?
I'd like to think there's going to be a better way to model readiness besides just how did they do in geometry, how did they do in world history. And there's so much going on with trying to develop that right now. Technology with AI came on fast, it came on hard, it's everywhere. And it's accelerating at such a quick pace, but the speed of curriculum and planning for districts and schools and even teachers typically moves at a much slower pace. So trying to play catch up with something that is moving much quicker than legislation and curriculum planning can do is going to be a challenge. So I am also curious what the report cards and readiness is going to look like on a diploma.
Yeah, and exactly. And the value of that diploma moving into the workforce is also very important. So in your school, when you're working on thinking about technology and thinking about what technology kids are using, what are your tenets? How do you reign true in thumbing up or thumbing down the usage of certain stuff in your classrooms?
Yeah, right now we're kind of at a point where we're figuring that out as a district. So that's actually part of what brought us here to this conference, is to kind of look at what other people are doing and,
love it.
Just like any other job, kind of steal what's working from other people. And we're going to start with focusing on making sure our teachers understand and our teachers feel prepared before we start pushing it outwards. And I don't think a normal classroom or a module or a single assembly is going to be enough to talk about AI and the impact that it has. It's everywhere and it's in everything. So it's going to change how teachers need to teach. If you're giving them worksheets that are fill in the blank, then that's something that is rote memory. That is something they can take a picture of and they will get the answers. So it's going to change and influence how teachers design their classes, get more inquiry-based, get more project-based, get more problem-solving, so that they're forced to use AI as a tool and not a replacement for their own thinking.
I think that starts, and you're right, I think that starts with a transparent understanding of, one, how is the school or school district using AI, and then two, how are kids using AI?
Yeah.
And until we can have that honest conversation, because right now you kind of have a little mystique and mist about really are kids just using it to answer all the questions and, trying to make their everyday easier. We have to be honest about that in order for those things to change. So it's a great point to you, really talking about the core tenets that you feel are necessary in adopting technology. It's such a different day and age than when I was going to school. I'm sure when you were going to school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think that we've come up upon a crux where the world is no longer accepting of the way in which we teach students. Not that it was 25 years ago. I just think right now it's even more so ridiculous, the way we kind of have kids memorize and regurgitate and then think about their success in the world where none of those skills, to your point, are really required.
Thinking back to the different pathways and stuff, using technology opens up a lot of that personalization and those different pathways when used appropriately and correctly. Something interests a student, they don't need a teacher that's a master at that if they're taught how to appropriately use it themselves to learn and to teach themselves rather than to just pull up answers. Instead of using it as a search bar, using it as an educational assistant.
Yeah.
And that opens up pathways, that opens up readiness. There's a new job, there's a new career. We don't know what careers are going to be out there in a couple of years. No one saw social media influencer.
No,
as
not
a
at all.
job.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to come down the line here? So
Video game streamer, you know?
Oh yeah, I was just talking to someone about full-fledged sponsorships to universities because you can play Rocket League. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah, that is
And
incredible, yeah.
We couldn't predict that.
Nope.
And now we're not going to be able to predict what's next. We can't predict what these kids are going to go into once they graduate, but we know the skills they're going to need. And critical thinking and curiosity, technology is going to change, careers are going to change, but curiosity is something that it's going to stay with them, hopefully, if we do our jobs right.
And it's the equalizer. You know, I think that's the ultimate, our motto is curiosity propels change. And so we very much believe in keeping kids curious, giving them the skills and abilities and experiences to allow for that curiosity.
Yeah.
So Jacob, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time.